In the southwest of the UK, in the county of Devon, the Devonshire Heartland Way runs through the centre. It starts in the east at the small village of Stoke, Canon, just outside the city of Exeter, and progresses westward to Oakhampton, which is on the outskirts of Dartmoor. Total length of the route is around 45 miles. The first section starts at Stoke Canon and works its way through the countryside to the town of Crediton. We start this walk in the village of Stoke Canon and the road opposite the village pub. On the opposite corner is the Spa shop, and we're going to be heading up Chestnut Crescent. About 100 metres down we come to the level crossing here. And just the other side of the railway crossing we enter this country pathway. There used to be a branch line that left that main line at Stoke Canon and went up through Bickley and Tiverton, and that was closed in 1963, and now we're walking for a short distance along the old track bed. We're still only half a mile outside Stoke Canon. Come up to a junction here. If we take the right turn, then we're going along the X Valley Way through to Tiverton, and if we go left here over the river, this is the way on the Devonshire Heartland. Very picturesque. I'll just swing round, and that's the way we'll be walking over the bridge, and that's down the other side of the river heading towards Exeter. Well, we've come up into the village of Bamford. The path actually routes us round through the churchyard that you can see directly ahead of you, but today there's a wedding in there, so I've done a slight detour and walked down the main street of Bamford rather than get mixed up with the wedding. The village has its own public house, the Agricultural Inn, and there's a shot of the church. The path actually comes through the grounds of the church, but as I mentioned earlier, we're avoiding that today because of the wedding ceremony going on in there. This presumably is to do with the wedding. Rather nice to see the old route master. We've now taken a right-hand turn off of the main street through Bamford, and we're following this path. The next part is along the right-hand side edge of this field. They built a causeway here, presumably when the weather is wet. This is a very boggy bit of ground, but today it's bone dry. There's no need for this thoughtfully placed bridge, causeway across the muddy area. We've turned up to walk alongside this field. I have no idea what this crop is. Probably somebody can put in the comments below what it is. In the next field across, the crop has changed. Is this barley? Please let me know. Some nice views across the Devon Hills here, showing it's very much farming land. Well, we've just come out onto the lane that runs through the village of Upton Pine, A rather picturesque thatched cottage here. There's another thatched cottage, and the little track that leads up to the parish church. This lovely little Devon church. Tower is probably several hundred years old. In the graveyard is the war memorial, and on there we see that in the First World War 16 men of this very small village gave their lives. Amazing sacrifice. Let's have a look inside the church. Well, it is very dark in here. I can't see any obvious light switches to put on. But it's a pretty little chapel. Number of interesting memorials on the wall. It's worth a visit. I don't think the camera is going to do it justice though. So this is Upton Pine Parish Church. I've taken a right-hand turn out of the village of Upton Pine, followed a farm track, and now we're just going alongside some fields. You can see the Devon Hills in the distance. A bit misty because it's there's a very light rain falling at the moment, so you're not seeing the Devon Hills at their best, but it's still pretty spectacular. A very direct path across this cornfield, or maybe it's wheat. Passing some interested spectators. We travelled 100 metres along a country lane, and now we've taken a right turn off that lane down this track through the woods. Now we're following a trail across another field of crops, different crop this time. At 3.7 miles from the start, we're crossing this smaller railway. This is the Tarka line. It runs from Exeter up to Barnstable, and the trains are once an hour in each direction. Little three-carriage rattling type trains, but a very picturesque line. I've been following this path alongside a field for the last mile and a bit, and we're just coming up to the 5-mile mark from the start, and we should soon be seeing the village of Newton St Cyres. Here we are, Newton St Cyres, with a lovely display of wildflowers. The village has its own railway station on the Tarka line, the line we crossed a couple of miles back. And the village pub, the Beer Engine. Well, this is the 6-mile mark, and we've been walking up this country lane for a little while. Very peaceful, not seen a single vehicle while I've been walking it. I think there's a little way to go yet before we turn off to the right, but all is well, apart from a very ominous black cloud above us. I think we might be going to have a shower of rain. That's no problem. Well, we've done 7.5 miles. The last mile has been a little bit difficult. The map took us up someone's private drive, and the lady there explained that there may have been a path years ago, but it was no longer there. So without the help of any signs, we had to navigate across some fields and eventually pick up the Heartland way again. And as you probably observed, it is now bucketing down with rain, trying to get some shelter under these trees. I would add to that the Heartland way so far has been very poorly signposted. You will need to use a map if you're planning to follow this route. There are occasional signs, but nothing that you could rely upon. Funny old day today with the weather. Those are the black clouds that have just passed over and been torrential rain. And then we come around here and the sky is blue and the sun is beginning to shine. At 8.5 miles, I've reached the small village of Shobrooke. This is the pub and village shop. As we follow another of these paths through a field of crops, over on the left there we can just make out the tower of the Shobrooke church and some thatched cottages, probably a farmhouse in front of it. And there is the parish church of St Swithun in Shobrooke. And we're heading up the hill on that lane. Up at the top of Shobrooke on the crossroads is the War Memorial. All those young men who gave their lives. Many of them are only 18, 19 years old, some even younger. Just on the 9-mile mark, as we have climbed out of Shobrooke, we've now entered Shobrooke Park. Once a stately home, these huge lime trees each side of this path, massive. And we follow this path right the way down now through the grounds of Shobrooke Park. Over on the far side of the park we can see some sort of event taking place today. A lot of tents and cars. The path doesn't take us down that way. Sheep under the shade of the lime tree. More of them over here. I must have disturbed them a little bit because they're moving. As you can see, the wind has got up a bit, but it's pleasantly warm. Well, we've left Shobrooke Park, short section along a country lane, and now we're on the outskirts of Crediton. New housing over there, but down that end you can see some cattle and some rugby posts. Still rural. As we come into Crediton we have this long path alongside the football playing fields. Lord's Meadow Leisure Centre. Well, we've reached Crediton. The town centre is just ahead of us over the hill there. I'm not going to go there at the moment. We've walked for 11.5 miles along the Devonshire Heartland way. An excellent walk, thoroughly enjoyed it. I would say though that you're not going to find signposts along it. Very, very few signposts. You're going to need a decent map to find your way through. Anyway, that's part one of the Devonshire Heartland Way, and in a couple of days time I'll pick up and do the next section. Till the next time.